It was a comment made about one specific position. In fact, one specific player for the BYU football program. But the statement itself, I think, extends to the entire BYU football program. What am I talking about it? Well, stay tuned and find out.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you who we like to call everydayers right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. All summer long, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Let's dive right in on today's show and talk some BYU football. Now, day 9, I believe, officially of training camp is in the books. We were out there yesterday watching for about 20 minutes of practice. Got to watch some field goal kicking, folks. That tells me everything I need to know about where we're at in fall camp right now. But the bigger point to be made here is Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, spoke to the media after practice yesterday. Both he and Kalani Sitake were very clear, just to get this out of the way up front if you did not hear it, that there has been no decision made on BYU starting quarterback. I talked yesterday how I believe that is Gerry Bohanon in the lead for that starting quarterback position at this juncture, but it appears that this is going to be a race that goes to the wire. Aaron Roderick said that they decided between Jaron Hall and Zach Wilson back in the day, 3 days ahead of their season opener. That would have been the 2019 season, I guess, technically, going way back when. Maybe, no, it would have been, maybe 2018. But regardless, this is a race that apparently might go the distance. But the bigger thing I wanted to talk about on today's show is a comment that Aaron Roderick made when asked about actually Cody Hagan. Now, a freshman wide receiver, a 4-star talent in his own right. Cody Hagan is a really dynamic athlete, showed at the high school level. Now, as he's coming home off a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he obviously is looking to make an impression in training camp. Well, he was, speaking of Aaron Roderick, asked about Cody Hagan and what his potential role might be for this BYU football program. And the comment he made obviously was specific to Cody Hagan and more about the BYU wide receiver situation, which appears to be, for all intents and purposes, the deepest position group on BYU's football roster, top to bottom. But he made this comment. I'm going to read it verbatim. I wrote it down for you guys. Quote, "There's room for as many good players as can help us win," unquote. Now, as I mentioned, that was made about one specific player for one specific position group. But why wouldn't that be the philosophy across the board for the BYU football program this season? This is a season that BYU is coming into being thought of very lightly. They're in the bottom tier of the Big 12 in terms of the overall power rankings, if you were to look at it. They, along with Houston, Arizona State, maybe Baylor, that's kind of your bottom tier of programs in this 16-team league, and BYU is not being considered to be a threat, a force, a contender in any way, shape, or form this upcoming season. So why wouldn't, speaking of BYU overall as a team, buy into that? There's room for as many good players as can help us win, unquote. Now, you may be thinking, Jake, this is the stupidest argument you have ever made. Let me talk about something that I have observed in more than 15 years covering college football on a professional basis. Favorites get played, folks. There's politics in everything. And I'm not going to get political here, but there are politics at play in quite literally every facet, particularly in college football. You've got parents lobbying coaches about their son getting playing time. Yes, that sounds like a little league move, but it happens at high level Division I football, Power 4 football. In fact, it is absolutely happening today. If you don't want to believe that, don't believe it, but it is absolutely happening. There are politics at play. Coaches have pet favorites, and it's nothing against those coaches. They're just guys that are their quote unquote, their guys that they want to succeed at BYU, whether it's a guy that's a family friend, whether it's a guy that they recruited for a long time and won a recruiting battle to bring them in, they want to see their guys succeed. And when the other guys push for that playing time that your preferred candidate or player might be entitled to, that obviously can mess things up. BYU this season needs to embrace that statement wholeheartedly. There's room for as many good players as can help us win. I don't care the position group. I don't care the level or star rating of the player. If they are good enough to contribute to winning football for BYU, I sincerely hope that the coaches responsible for this will put them on the field. That goes for the quarterback situation. Aaron Roderick was asked about the chances that if it really does go down to the wire with this quarterback race, that he could play both quarterbacks game one. He said it's not his preferred option, but it is something that he can't say wouldn't be an option that's on the table. I think that this is the philosophy BYU has to have. You need to go out there and find the best talent you can find on this roster, no matter where it might come from. There are guys out there that have been walk-ons of this program that have really kind of bided their time and been waiting for the opportunity to break out. There are also guys like Cody Hagan, who are bona fide four-star high-level athletes that could have gone anywhere in the country that are chomping at the bit to prove that they can contribute to BYU this season. I don't care if it's a 17-year-old freshman like Reiner Swanson or a 27-year-old punter like Sam Vanderhaar. That is the disparity. There's 10 years, a decade between those two players as the oldest and youngest players on BYU football's roster. I don't care if they are anything other than the fact that if they can contribute to winning football for BYU, get them on the, as Deion Sanders like said, the Goldern field. Get them out there. Let them play football. If it is a guy, let's say potentially like a Tommy Prasis at free safety or Falatau Satuala in the defensive backfield, Trey Alexander at cornerback, flipping over to the offense. I mentioned Reiner Swanson at tight end, Cody Hagan, Tei Nakua, Dominique McKenzie at wide receiver, McKay Hillstead pushing for reps at quarterback, Pokai Haunga, Sione Aimoa at running back. No matter who the talented players are, if they can contribute to BYU overachieving and getting to, let's say, 6-6, 7-5, heck, even an 8-4 record, get them on the field and let them do their thing. This is a season that BYU can proverbially throw caution to the wind because there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people in this program, none bigger, obviously, than Aaron Roderick and, more importantly, Kalani Sitake. They've got to prove that they can make the transition along with this program to the Power 4 level and make it a successful transition into that level of football. Last year left a bitter taste in literally everybody's mouth. Media, players, coaches, administrators. Doesn't matter who you are. That 5-7 record did not sit well with anybody, especially ending the season on a 5-game losing streak. This is a program that aspires to win Big 12 titles. This is a program that aspires to go to the college football playoff. This is a program that aspires of winning a national title once again, 40 years on from their only national title down there in Provo in 1984. 40 years after the fact, the realistic road to winning a national title is back open to BYU. Can they take the steps forward to building that type of program this season? Well, I don't care who it is. Like I said, I don't care where they come from. If they can contribute to winning football for the BYU football program, they can help Kalani Sitake, Aaron Roderick, Jay Hill, and any one of a number of other coaches in this program succeed and have a winning record, just a winning record in 2024. Get them out there, let them show what they're capable of, and let them do their thing. I really do believe that this should be the type of season the BYU says, I don't care if you're a true freshman or you're a 5th or 6th or 7th year senior. If you can help us win, we're going to put you in a position to succeed. And the expectation for you as a player is to go out there and reward our faith in you by playing to the level of play that we believe that you can play to and help us win football games. Now, a position group that is absolutely going to be critical to any and all success for BYU, and all of them obviously playing a role in it, but losing a guy the caliber of Ben Bywater is an absolute blow for BYU at linebacker. What are the Cougars doing to replace him at that position? Well, it appears that there are a number of guys contending to replace his production at the middle linebacker spot, or the MAC linebackers, BYU likes to call him. One of the chief contenders for that job will speak with me next, right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is here for you guys all summer long, no matter what you're into. Whether you've been going out to Major League Baseball games all summer long, I actually kind of feel like I missed out because I didn't actually make it out to an MLB ballpark this summer, and school's starting up for my kids. So the chances of doing that are really slim at this point. But the bigger point to be made here is no matter if you're into baseball, football, futures, odds, NBA, tiddlywinks, whatever you're into, FanDuel has got the ability for you to open up their app and dream up any bets anytime you're in the mood to do so. The best part is to incentivize you to do that. All summer long, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily, incentivizing you to check it out every single day. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. So go to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. BYU basketball right now with all the hoopla around Kevin Young. We're going to talk about their non-conference schedule here in just a little bit. They're 55-1 odds to win the national title in his debut season. Want to put some money down on that? Do it with our friends at FanDuel. Once again, go to FanDuel.com to learn more now. If you're going out to the ballpark, you want to have a little extra on the game that you're happening going out to when it comes to MLB, take advantage of it now at FanDuel.com. Once again, it's all courtesy of FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you've not done so already, would encourage you guys to make your second listen today. Our friends over the Locked On College Football Podcast. Good friend of mine, Spencer McLaughlin, is the host over there. He's getting you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron, discussion on the upcoming season, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including looks into conference realignment, transfer portal, NIL, the new college football 12-team playoff, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, just like this podcast, and it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. I had a chance to catch up with Siale Esera last week during BYU Team Photo Day. This is a young man, remember, had a really, really solid start to his career last season before suffering a season-ending foot injury. There was some concern coming into this season if that foot injury would linger and he would not be able to participate. But day one of camp, there's number 54 running around the field looking like he didn't miss anything, quite frankly, even though he missed months in terms of his rehab from that foot injury. The good news is he's easing his way back into this. Everything I hear about this is Siale is absolutely going to be a part of the mix at linebacker for BYU. Right now, it feels like it's down to him and Harrison Taggart, that we like to call the MAC or middle linebacker position for the BYU football program. It's the position that Ben Bywater was forced to vacate when he medically retired from playing for BYU, and it's a blow to lose a guy of Ben Bywater's caliber, but the hope is that between Taggart and Esera at that position, you include Jack Kelly, Ace Kafusi, Sione Moa, Isaiah Glasker, just you go down the list. There are a lot of bodies at linebacker. And the nice part is yes, Ben Bywater will be missed. There's just absolutely zero doubt that he will be missed by the BYU football program. But it appears, at least on paper, that despite losing Bywater and his incredible, prodigious talent on the field, BYU has a far deeper linebacking core right now going into 2024 than they had in any previous season to date, I think in the Kalani Sitake era. You may argue with me on that, but I really do think they've got a lot of prodigious young talent in this linebacker room, and I think chief among them is Siale Esera. So without further ado, here's the conversation I had with Siale during BYU Team Photo Day last week. Siale, I think a lot of people are looking at your position at linebacker as one that losing Ben Bywater, you think, okay, they're a little bit thinner than maybe we thought they were going to into the Big 12. Do you think that you guys are deeper than you were a year ago?
I think we're same amount. I think we're doing pretty good in that MAC position right now.
Now, you were a guy that came in, you saw some playing time last year and then picked up an injury, but you're back out there at practice. Obviously, injury is part of the game.
Yes, sir.
How do you go about that, approaching an injury recovery and then getting back out on the field? Do you have to take a minute to be like, okay, got to trust that foot's going to hold up for me here?
Oh, yeah, just trying to trust your physical therapy that you've been doing, just trusting the doctors and what they did, making sure that you're there mentally, you know, and just making sure that a big part of it is trust, like you said. Just trying to trust everything that you've been doing so far and just to go forth and do whatever you need to do, man.
Now, you're a local kid, played at Timpview. It's like a stone's throw away from LES and everything. How cool is it to be representing BYU and playing for the Y?
It's been so cool, man. It was really cool. I've been growing up watching BYU. Crazy to be a hometown hero type thing, and it's crazy. I was just so blessed and thankful for the opportunity to be here. Just trying to make my parents proud, you know, make my family proud, just doing what I love. So
now you play the linebacker position, but you're a little bit bigger bodied backer than a lot of people out there. What do you consider to be your chief strengths as a linebacker?
Just getting to the ball, you know, just the speed of just getting to the ball, filling gaps, and just trying to I kind of like to take handfuls of anywhere I can, man. Just try and dip my toe into anywhere I can find it, anywhere I can see that ball coming through. I think that's my biggest strength, just to sniff out plays, you know.
So you got a nose for the ball. That's nothing wrong with that as a linebacker, obviously. Now, talking with Kalani earlier in the week, he talked about how the defense has had a good run here against your offense. Do you like the back and forth when it comes to training camp, and one day the defense might win and the offense might respond the next day?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Yeah, it keeps it high intensity, high competition, just getting that grind on, just makes everyone better, you know, just trying to push each other to be the best that we can be as a team, and I feel like we've been doing that lately. But, you know, defense, we've obviously, I ain't going to try to shame the offense or anything, but the defense been out here, and we've been posted up just doing our business, and so.
Making them earn it, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the Big 12 is a big deal, obviously, when they officially announced they're going to the Big 12 for BYU. How big of a role was that for you to pick BYU to play for?
It was a big thing for me. But honestly, I love Coach Kalani. I love the values that he stands for. They align with my values, especially for my family as well. And I never got that kind of experience or kind of feeling that I got here than when I went to go visit other schools. And so it truly made me want to come here, even before the Big 12. The Big 12 was like icing on the cake, you know. But yeah, I loved Coach Kalani. Everything. I love Coach Enna. I love Coach Hill. I love the defense and the schemes that they put in to this BYU defense. Big 12 doesn't know what's going to come for them, man. They don't know what's going to hit them.
And here we've seen some of the videos from the strength staff in that workout saying, "Hey, keep doing what you're doing. You'll go 5-7 again." Has that kind of been the messaging? Like, hey, step it up, essentially.
Yes. You know, going 5-7, that was a big blow to us. You know, we really wanted that bowl game at least, but we've been doing really good. We've been pushing ourselves to the limit, man. That strength staff been pushing us no matter what, and as you said in the videos, they've been cranking that heat up. You know, but we don't take it too personally, you know, we take it as motivation. You know, a lot of times people will take that out of context and make it kind of what it shouldn't be.
Sure. Last thing for me, I guess last couple things for me, is are you a guy who likes to have both personal expectations and team expectations, or do you go one way or the other?
Oh no, yeah, both.
Okay.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Now, in terms of your personal expectations, what are you hoping to contribute this year?
I want to try to start this
Okay.
year, and so that's my big goal right now. Trying to start this year. I'm just trying to get on that field, you know. As last year was happening, I did suffer a couple of injuries and kept me out of the first part and the last couple of games as well. And so the big thing for me going in this season is just staying healthy, because the best ability is availability, you know. And so that's what I've been trying to focus on, just trying to go into it, yeah. And so.
It's one of my favorite phrases, best ability is availability, because it's absolutely 100% true. Now, you talk about the Big 12 won't know what hits them. Is that the mentality that's been shared across the team? Like, hey, nobody expects much from us. We can go out there and quote-unquote shock the world.
Oh, no, yes, sir. Coach Hill has told us, you know, he's also expressed to us, like, we've also, the media and everyone around us have been telling us, even with this first game coming up, that we're going to lose. And he was telling us just let them talk, let them say whatever they want to say, let them be whatever they want to be, but just know that whatever goes on in here is what's going to matter. And so we've taken that especially as a defense and as a team, we've taken that to heart. And so we really have just been pushing each other to the limit, just trying to make ourselves better, and just we're not listening to any of those limits that other people try to put on us.
A big thank you to Siale Esera for joining us here on the podcast. You heard him talk about the fact that he's very much looking forward to contributing to BYU in any way, shape, or form that he can. Now, he's been running in a myriad of different positions for BYU in terms of the depth chart all camp long. We've seen him with the first string, second string, and third string at different points. I think the honest truth is the linebacking core is as deep as Justin Enna wants it to be, but more importantly, a guy like Siale Esera, they're trying to get him just essentially up to speed and getting opportunities to get him on the field and get him more comfortable in the role he's going to be playing in. I think that he will split time heavily with Harrison Taggart early on in the season, but if Esera's talent shines through, and he is an incredible athlete, he's 6'3", he's 250 some odd pounds, and he moves like a deer. It's incredible to see a man of his size move as easily as he does on the football field. We're talking the ability to go sideline to sideline, much like Ben Bywater, but Ben Bywater weighs 20, 30 pounds lighter than Siale Esera. I think Siale Esera has got a potential star future in front of him, and the hope is he puts it all together here and rolls and helps BYU have a successful year this season. Now, the linebacking core is very critical to any and all success BYU hopes to have on defense, and a guy like Siale Esera backing up that defensive line really could do wonders. And we'll see how it all plays out, but a big thank you to Siale for taking the time, and fingers crossed it all goes well and he stays healthy this season, and he can be a big part of what will hopefully be a resurgent year for BYU on the defensive side of the football. All right, coming up here in just a minute, we're going to flip over to basketball. We finally know what BYU's non-conference slate looks like, what the official start of the Kevin Young era will entail. What does it mean for BYU basketball? Is the slate exactly what you wanted? We'll delve into that coming up next as we roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, whether you need a supercharger, roof rack, exhaust kit, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. No matter if you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts, consider that, 122 million parts. I don't even know where they store all that. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for in an eBay guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP, and bring home those huge wins with our friends at eBay Motors. Once again, keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and eBay guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you've not done so already, what are you waiting for? Sign up for our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. I'm passing along all the tidbits I'm learning at BYU football practices and sending them to you in the form of a text message. It does not get much more direct and intimate than that. Get a 14-day free trial. Click the link in the show notes below, whether you're watching and or listening to this. Sign up today, just $5 a month afterward if you think it's worth your money. Really hope you guys will continue to join us. We had a nice surge in people joining up for the group, and the hope is that we'll continue to add more as the season, speaking of BYU football, draws closer and closer, but we'll also have plenty of BYU basketball coverage as well. And that's where we're going to leave off on today's show. We're going to talk BYU hoops here for just a moment. Yesterday, Kevin Young, the BYU men's basketball program, formally announced their 2024 non-conference slated games. I'll say right at the outset here, the slated games for BYU in the non-conference portion of this season don't thrill me to that big of a degree. There is a major road game going back to Providence as part of the Big East Big 12 Challenge. That's a big game for BYU to go to Rhode Island and take on the Providence Friars. That is a resume building type game in the non-conference. BYU will also participate in what they call the MTE, the mid-season tournament events, or mid-season, whatever they call them. Well, they'll play in the Rady Children's Invitational down in San Diego, California. This year, their field includes Ole Miss, BYU, NC State, and Purdue. Quite honestly, any of those teams are going to be resume builders for one another, because the nice part is all those programs have had some recent success. Obviously, Purdue and NC State in particular. BYU's familiar with NC State because, they had that crazy game down in Las Vegas not that long ago at a similar type MTE event. But I think the biggest non-conference games are that MTE event in San Diego, at the Rady Children's Invitational that will happen over Thanksgiving weekend, and then also the road game at Providence. That is the only true road game for BYU in their non-conference slate. The other games are either home games or their neutral site. I look at this, and the home slate, quite honestly, is weak. I'm just going to say it flat out. It is weak. Now, is that a bad thing? No, I don't think it's a bad thing. Consider the level that BYU is going to be playing in terms of talent and depth and overall prowess they'll be facing in the Big 12 slate. Getting any and all confidence you can from the non-conference slate is going to be very, very critical. And that's why you see the likes of first-time matchups against Central Arkansas to open the season on November 5th. And then you see Riverside that weekend. Those are it's not first time for UC Riverside, second time all time. Then Queens comes in, the first time BYU's ever faced Queens out of the Carolinas. The final non-conference game is against Florida A&M on December 20th. They've never played the Rattlers, speaking of BYU. You've got 3 first-time matchups against teams that BYU is just flat out better than them and should steamroll. You have some intriguing matchups in terms of former games from eras past. You have a home game against Fresno State, obviously, as they come to Provo. You convinced Wyoming that, hey, we don't want to play in Laramie. Let's play at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. Now, this stipulation with that, according to Rocco Miller, is that BYU agreed to an amended contract that requires them to go to Wyoming the following season in 2025, 2026. I like to see BYU buy their way out of that, but nonetheless, you got Wyoming in the Delta Center, allowing BYU fans to go up on December 14th and go have that annual pre-Christmas game up there in Salt Lake City. But quite frankly, looking at this, the home slated games are going to feature a number of home games for you as a Cougar fan to go out and root on the Cougars and get to know this team, get to know Kevin Young, his style of play. But they're going to be a little bit boring because I honestly look at this and I don't see any reason why BYU outside of the road game at Providence and potentially, depending on how the matchups go in that Rady Children's Invitational, those are really the only 2 threats to me in my mind of BYU losing 1, maybe 2 games in the non-conference slate. There is a realistic possibility that BYU runs the table in the non-conference, is undefeated going into Big 12 play. But then, as we all know, yet again, finishing 500 in the Big 12 this year might get you a single-digit seed and find yourself as maybe a 6 or a 7 at the very worst. That's how deep and talented this league is. I'm seeing some early projections for the Big 12 and how it might shake out, and they've got BYU sitting around between 6th and 9th in the league. And consider the talent that Kevin Young has brought into this program. It's unlike any of his predecessors, quite literally. If you look at the caliber of a Jaeger Denham, Cannon Catchings and the like, Elijah Crawford, on the list, Brody Kozlowski. But the crazy thing is that the Big 12 added that much depth and talent themselves, and that pushes BYU down the pecking order. Can they improve upon their 5th place finish from a year ago? There's no reason to think they can't do that, but it is absolutely going to be a dog-eat-dog world out there in the Big 12. So, while I say that the non-conference slate is weak for BYU, I completely understand why. I do not disagree why they went about scheduling it the way that they did. This is a great opportunity to ease BYU into playing a new style of basketball under a first-time head coach. Kevin Young doesn't want to come out of this shoot and have to face Duke, just use an example, in game 1, because that obviously would lend itself to your guys being a little more tight than they need to be, and they can go out there in the case of playing against a program the caliber, and something against Central Arkansas, but you bring Central Arkansas in and you allow BYU to kind of ease their way into figuring out what the rotation is going to be, what the offensive sets need to look like. It is the right schedule for BYU to kick off the era for Kevin Young. Would I have liked to see some more marquee matchups, and especially when it comes to a home game or 2? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in future seasons we will see that, because my read on Kevin Young is that he is unafraid of playing the proverbial big dogs. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he will absolutely schedule cream puff schedules like this in terms of the non-conference slate. But the home-heavy nature of it is a good thing for you as a Cougar fan. It means a lot of fun nights in November and December going out to the Marriott Center. I'll be there myself. And quite honestly, I cannot remember the last time I've been this ecstatic to be covering BYU basketball. Many of you know that I'm more of a football guy than I'm a hoops guy, but I got to say, there's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of excitement. I am just absolutely tickled at the thought of what BYU might be able to accomplish with Kevin Young at the helm of this BYU basketball program. It really feels like the sky is the limit for this team. Can he continue to recruit at an extremely high level? And ultimately, can he prove that he is a capable coach, as capable a coach on the court as he is in terms of the recruiting environment? If he proves capable of that, this is a coach that has got the talent coming into BYU that could elevate the Cougars to quite literally all-time status. I said it once on this podcast, I'll say it again. If Kevin Young leads BYU to a Final Four berth at any point during his run as BYU men's basketball coach, I would elevate him automatically to the greatest BYU basketball coach ever. Nothing against Stan Watts, Steve Cleveland, Frank Arnold, Dave Rose. There's a lot of good coaches in BYU basketball history, but if you can do something that's not been done in BYU basketball history and you recruit at the level that Kevin Young is recruiting at, I don't care that it's early on in his tenure. I would elevate him very quickly to near, if not the top of the heap in BYU coaching circles and history. I really do believe that. So we'll see how it goes, but that's the non-conference slated games. If you want to go check it out, go to Locked On. You can go to BYUCougars.com. A lot of home games, as I mentioned, on the slate. Only three official neutral site games, and then the one true road game amongst the entire bunch. 3 first-time matchups. And the one other note I meant to mention is that every one of these games outside of the MTE event down there in San Diego, so every other team on the schedule, BYU has either a winning record against or it will be a first-time matchup for the BYU men's basketball program. So something you can file away for future reference. All right, that's what I got for you guys on this Tuesday edition of the show. I appreciate all of your guys' support. It really does mean the world to me. You guys continue to download, watch. Please continue to rate and review the show. Share it with your family and friends. Join the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Just be a bigger part of the podcast than you already are, if you don't mind. Really is a really fun time as you go into football season here. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. And a big thank you, as always, to all of you for making being an everydayer with us as well. I'm going to encourage you guys now to make your second listen the Locked On College Football Podcast. Until tomorrow, once again, this has been the Locked On Cougars podcast.